Alright, so I'm about to get started on my 2006 Land Rover LR3. We've had the intermittent starting issues consistently, well, I should say inconsistently up until recent, where it will not start. We actually tried jumping it, even though the battery read good, and we were able to get it started and move back to my driveway. And then it started once, didn't start. So it's been pretty consistent. I believe it's a negative ground terminal that is maybe corroded, oxidized, something. It's not making good contact. So we're going to go ahead and get all my tools out, got my compressor out. So we go ahead and get started taking off this wheel, some of the shielding back there, and start getting into where all the negative terminals are, and even the starter. I'm going to attempt to clean the connections on that too. If I have to, I'll replace the starter, and hopefully through all this I'll be able to correct the problem. Alright, so I have disconnected the battery, as you can see. I have taken off the wheel, supported with some jack stands just in case, and from everything I've read, it's going to be right up in here where I need to check a few connections. The starter should be right back in behind there. So this looks a little different than what I saw online though, so I don't know if I'm missing a shield or if maybe the ones I saw online are diesel or a different version. So you go ahead and get started here. Okay, so this is the negative terminal. It's attached to the side back behind the fuse panel here. It's very tight to get back in there. It's a 13mm socket. You need a deep well socket. The nut that comes off of it is going to be like that. I didn't see a lot of issues. I have this little sanding block. I just sanded it down with a fine grit sandpaper. But actually, as I look over, my my negative battery terminal definitely shows some some wear, and I had recently sprayed it down with some battery terminal protector, but I think I'm definitely going to clean this up and take a look at the positive and clean that up. This actually might be my issue right here, if it'll focus in on it. So I'm going to definitely work on this a little bit, get this all cleaned up, and then continue on to any other positions that I can find. So I also disconnected the block here from the positive, and from when I sprayed the battery terminal protector, you can actually see a lot of it down in between here, and that tells me that not a lot of this was making good connection. Now, I don't know how much of it needs to make solid connection, but something tells me it shouldn't get in there that much. So I'm going to go ahead and get the Dremel and clean this one out also. Get it all nice and clean and sanded down so there's no pitting, or at least take any corrosion out of there, and then connect everything up. So I'm kind of crossing my fingers and hoping that this is the issue. I'm also going to, as you can see down here, it's making connection on some of it, not all, so I'm going to clean that up also. Just try and get everything, trying to eliminate any issues here that potentially could be there. Okay, so before the starter replacement, I'm actually going to do a few things since I don't have the new starter with me yet. So these heat shields back here, which look to be a little bit of a pain, just a couple different bolts, those all need to come out. There's supposed to be 3 of them in order to get access to the starter, which is conveniently located directly behind your frame and kind of tied in also with some the engine mount, which is also very tightly up against it. But I'm considering that I have an issue with the ground, so followed the ground cable here, and I took off the entire underside of the wheel well here as it lays over there. It's a bit of a pain, a lot of those little plastic clips, but not a bad idea while you're in here just to get everything cleaned out. There's a lot of leaves and junk in there. Also, someone at some point had lost the positive battery terminal cover, so I recovered that. But right here, I already took it off. There's a 13mm nut on the end there, and this is a negative terminal that grounds your body to the motor. There's a connection over here, and then there's also one over on the motor side, which I'm going to take off next. But as you can see, there's a good bit of corrosion there, more than I'd like to see. So this potentially could be an issue with getting enough voltage to the return voltage. I'm sorry, amperage. We're actually getting 12 volts, but the amps may not be able to pull enough through there, which could be causing the starter not to kick on. So I'm kind of hoping that's it. I'm going to repair all this stuff, and I'll be prepared if I do have to replace the starter. I'll know exactly what to do. Alright, so this is the piece that came out right up in there, and so I'm looking at it here. The terminals definitely look dirtier than I would like to see. This one here, quite a bit corroded on the part that it actually connects. Actually even dirt in between there. So I'm starting to feel like my starter may not have an issue, and it might be the ground out connection, as I have read some people have replaced the starter and then still, after they were done, still had issues. So I'm going to go ahead and get all of those terminals cleaned up, take it into the Dremel, grind off a little bit of the end of the cable connections, so hopefully everything will make a good connection, and we'll roll this out as a free fix if this takes care of it. If not, at least I have the peace of mind knowing that this part is not the issue. So I have my Dremel hooked up here and a wire brush attachment. I've cleaned this one. I next have to clean this connection here. As you can see, there's a lot of corrosion around it, and then that off. The other connection is just past the alternator. You can see right there in the center of the screen. I can point it out to you. Get my hand in there too, but it's kind of right back there. There's a connection where it bolts on, and that looks a little bit dirty. Can't get a good light on it, but I'm gonna clean that one up too, along with these, and then put the cable back on and cross my fingers. Okay, so once you get the top part off, it's a small heat shield. It comes out rather simply once you remove the arm here that tells you, or the height regulator, I guess. And then there's a small bolt on the side here of this one, which you can take off, and then this one will maneuver, and I'll try and figure out how to get that out. But then you can actually start to see the starter positive terminal back there. So this might be able to just set out of the way. But next I'm going to take off this one here, which looks like there's a it's a 10mm socket on this, and then there's one down below. So do those, we'll get the rest of these off. I think they were all 10mm. You need a deep well socket for the top ones. The other ones, they're just bolts. So you get those off, should give us access here. The other access point is from underneath down here. You can actually lay under and reach up and grab it. It's right in behind there. It's just exactly opposite of this. So just a huge hunk of metal in between us and the starter.
Hi everybody, White Minecart here, and we are going to fix my mom's Land Rover starter. So you can see these are my work glasses, and my dad's going to talk now.
Alright, so we got the shields off up in here. I actually, I got two of them out. The other one I just kind of tucked off to the side. We'll see if it gets in my way. I just couldn't figure out a good way to get it out. And if you look directly back here, you'll see right past the positive battery lead there going onto the starter, there is a bolt. That is a 13mm bolt. Then, if you kind of look on this side, right down in here, you'll see the one bolt that's being loosened, and that is the other bolt, which is also 13mm from the other side, that needs taken off. That one is actually easier to get to from the bottom. So I reach from the bottom and kind of wrap my other arm up around here. This one up for the top, I guess if you had a really good, very small air ratchet, you would be very, very happy, because you'd be able to just get it on there and zip it right off. Unfortunately, I do not. I do have air tools, but not one that'll get to that. So I'm stuck with about 1 or 2 clicks on my ratchet every time, which is probably going to take me a good 10-20 minutes to get to that sucker and get it all the way off. I keep reaching in trying to do it with my hand, but it's just not capable. So I would say if you can, get that top one mostly off first so that it's out of your way, and then move to the bottom one. And then we'll see. Once it's out, I hear that then you can get a little bit of a better access onto the red lead, and then the other wire that is supposed to be right next to it. All right, let's see how we do. Okay, so I got a little frustrated with all the more I could get a turn out of there because my ratchet was actually not clicking back because it was just enough tension on the bolt, so I couldn't get to it by hand. So I can't get my hand back in there, but not enough to let the ratchet click over. So I thought if I get that power out of the way I could, and actually it looked, what I ended up being able to do is I could get 2 extensions on here pretty long to get all the way out here, but the angle is just right so that you can get to the power lead there. So I'm in the process of taking that off right now, and hopefully that'll give me a little more access to get that bolt off. Okay, so I got the starter disconnected and there's one wire I couldn't quite see where it is, so now I used my phone and jammed it up in here so I can see what I'm trying to do. Because I actually don't have the new starter yet because it was ordered and it's going to be in shortly this afternoon. So, looks like I have that little connection there. I'm going to try and get that wire off, and then hopefully that I'll be able to find a way to fit this right down and out the bottom.
Hi, it's White. It's White here, and we just finished it. We got the starter off. See right there. And by the way, this is getting a Land Rover starter to get it changed.
Okay, so just to be specific, this is a Land Rover 2006 LR3 with the 4.4 liter V8 petrol engine.
Yeah.
What I can tell you is I spent about 10 minutes fussing around with this little clip because you cannot see it when you're reaching in there, nor can you really get your hands on it to pull it off. You can get like one finger on it, at least for me. I've got a little bit bigger arms, so I
can
reached my arm through this area here, up around to where it is in there. And then I used a screwdriver from the top with my other hand to push on it, and the pesky little clip is this guy right here. What you can do is if you can get a screwdriver right on the top of it, my previous video probably showed a better view, and you can get it pushed down in there and then turned. If you can get it off quickly, congratulations, you saved yourself some frustration. And
what we were using this to get this off.
Not quite, no, buddy.
Not this.
Nope, we used a ratchet and finally got those off, and actually used my son's hand to get in there and get a hold of the top bolt and be able to spin it off.
I use my hand.
Because you can probably get your finger on it, but most guys probably don't have hands that can get in there and actually twist.
And I use my hand to get this, try to get that off too.
So hopefully, you know, the solenoid or the starter is the issue, because I've kind of went through and eliminated all other potential issues. And I'm gonna head to the store, exchange this for the new one, and come back, and hopefully the reapplication of putting it back in will
and we're gonna make another video, and we're gonna edit another part in.
Yep, absolutely. All right. All right, so I was able to find a starter in stock at a local Advanced Auto Parts. Used an online coupon, so paid 75 bucks. Pretty darn good deal, I think, for a remanufactured starter here. Actually had him bench test the old starter. It did read fail, so did kind of confirm that it is bad. So that was the problem. And the new one, we tested it. Actually had a few issues at first testing it. We thought it was bad, but it was just his connection. He was grabbing onto the bolt here, and the bolt was loose, so it was arcing a little bit, I guess, and causing it to short out. But everything is good. This one's in good shape, so I'm gonna go ahead and get working on getting it back in there, and hopefully it's a little bit easier than it was getting out. We'll see. Okay, so I have the starter back in. I've secured the top bolt on it, and I'm getting ready to connect the wire, and I'm actually using my phone to try and make sure I can get in here good enough.
We just got back from going across over Pittsburgh. We live in Pennsylvania. Yes. And we were going to
Can't quite
Advanced
tell if
Auto
it's in
Parts.
auto the way.
Right? Are we going to Advanced Auto Parts?
Yes.
We go to Advanced
Okay,
Auto
so
Parts.
apparently I just popped the
And
back
we bought
out.
a new Land Rover starter, and that was the only starter they had, and they tested it for us.
Yep.
Daddy, the tool's wet. The tool's wet.
Okay, I'm gonna try and get a screwdriver in there to put a little more pressure on it to make sure it clicks in.
Daddy, can you hold this for a second?
It also started raining too, so that's always nice in Pittsburgh when it starts raining. So I have one of these to hold the umbrella.
Hi. So.
Alright, so right back here is where the positive battery connection, the positive lead goes onto the starter. It's right behind that, what I believe is the engine mount. And I just used 2 extensions to get all the way out to here. So I can turn from here, the angle is just right to do so. And it's a 13mm socket, so I got it threaded on, and I'm just going to torque it down. And then I'll be almost complete with the starter reinstall, then I'll be putting all the other pieces back. Okay, so the new starter is now in place, mounted, torqued down, all the connections are made. So now it's a matter of putting everything back together. So we've got a couple of these heat shields that I had taken off. One I had just slid to the back here, so it was easier to get out of the way than to actually do anything, take out. So I'm going to attach that back up there. I'm going to put the next one here, the one with the bracket is the next one, and it goes over here. So I think I snuck this one through over here. Yep. And it's going to slide up and then go into place there, and the last piece will go on front. Alright, so I just finished it up, started it. It started right up, no problems. So I would say the most difficult thing is going to be getting the connections all the way back at the starter. The opening, once you take off the heat shields, will allow you enough room. It does recommend in the dealer description to take off the top of the ball joint or the top of the suspension there. It would probably give you a little more room, but I was able to do it without, and I felt like it was probably better to leave that intact since it's a 10-year-old vehicle and you never know what else you'll find once you start getting in there or damaging something. So everything's good. It worked. 75 bucks. Advanced Auto. Use one of the coupons, buy it online, and be good to go. Thanks.